Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech. This is another political episode, but it's going to be more geopolitical, which I am happy because I said to you, audience, I want to focus more on geopolitics. I realized that was a lack on season 5. A lot of it was very American oriented, but to be fair, we're in a crazy, sometimes interesting, sometimes bizarre election, and we are still in this bizarre election. We've touched territories that are very uncharted. Like we having what's going on with Trump, Hunter Biden as well. I mean, this is a landmine kind of topic. The reason why I say is because, you say the wrong thing, you could get explosive response. So if you care about your sanity, just avoid it. I'm going to be honest. But I'm not going to talk about that. Sometimes that bores me. It bores me. Yes, I'm a little more animated than usual. I think we should talk about more substantial stuff that are far more important. Stuff that could really impact us greatly. But before I get into that, this is another reoccurring guest, and the reason why I have asked him back because trust me, I know there is a lot more I need to get into. And yes, you call me an information extractor if you want. I don't care. And there's some feedback with this guest. His name is Gene Moran. He is the government consultant extraordinaire, government's favorite consultant. I'm probably buttering up too much, but I'm very shameless at this point. And trust me, he has some words of wisdom, not just of government consulting stuff, but based on geopolitics and history as well. And I think need to pay attention. Especially those who are listening, just listen. I hope you don't multitask. I can't stop, but I am pretty sure you're going to learn something here. And it's not just geopolitics, it's going to be in government as well. Okay? So, Gene, take it away with your introduction. Oh, one more thing. This is the second episode with Gene. If you watch the original one, you go to episode 159. 159. Okay, and I'm going to put the link to that episode as well. If you missed on campaigning, the surface level military industrial complex structures and why we need government. Yes, we need government. I know certain people are pissed off at government. It's a need. I agree it's a need. I'm sure Gene Moran obviously agrees it's a need. I'm not going to ask him that. So, Gene, take it away your introduction before I could just keep rolling my mouth away.
It's good to be back, and thanks for having me, and good to spend some time with your audience. As you suggest, we can probably talk about a lot of different topics. I help companies who are trying to navigate selling things to the government, primarily in the defense and aerospace industries. And as a result, things that are happening in the world have an impact on the decisions that the government makes and how companies, U.S. companies, can support the things that the government needs. I concur on some level. Yes, we do need government for certain things. There are things happening around the world. There are things that require that we be capable of providing for a common defense. We can't leave defense needs up to individual or regional decision making. They need to be federal decisions. And so, we can argue where should that line be drawn, but I focus on national security issues. And as a result, I keep up with what's happening around the world, and I try to apply my expertise, experience, and academic understanding of what these various issues mean to government decisions, to our public policy, and to corporations who are trying to navigate what may come next. And I'm happy to cover any questions, and I understand there was feedback from the prior episode, which I think is great. Not everybody should agree or will agree. I think if we stick to facts, that's always best. Our challenge today in this day of high-speed information and disinformation flow, agreeing on the facts can be challenging. But I make a living by understanding what's going on and helping interpret it. And if there are assumptions to be made, we just put those assumptions on the table as a part of whatever the decision to be made might be. So happy to take your question.
No problem. I want to start a historical front, and I'm happy that you brought this up pre-recording. Sadly, I almost forgot about this. I know there's some. No, I'm gonna call myself. I actually forgot. We need to remember, the importance of D-Day, because I think it's safe to say there's segments of society that seems to wants to forget about it and just not do anything, or not even just care about the sacrifices that these people made. Preserve not just your freedom, my freedom, his freedom as well. And trust me, if you would have just looked at the facts, picture someone who just, these men knew they had a high probability of death, but they still charge anyways. I mean, if that doesn't yell bravery, I don't know what will. If you think they're stupid, I think you're stupid. That's just, I've heard some complaints. Thank goodness I found them on the internet. That, if I was them, I would not fall in D-Day. I would have just retreated and ran. Yeah, you would be very dishonorable, and trust me, you would be remembered for the wrong reasons in the history books, if they care to remember you, that is. So let's not go there with that. They were very brave, and I'm sure you want to add more into
let me connect some dots if I could. I was on, as we're recording this, it's mid-June. I was on the C-SPAN Washington Journal show 2 weeks ago for a Memorial Day question and answer session, about a 45-minute morning show. A lot of people from around the country calling in, talking about what Memorial Day means to them. And in that conversation, we made the connection of Memorial Day being, a time to remember those who made that ultimate sacrifice, serving in the military, but for some purpose higher than themselves. At the time, we were just on the cusp of the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And I have made this comment for the last several years that I think part of the tension within the U.S. about how involved should we be on the international stage is connected to our loss of memory about what World War II was about and the world order that came from it because of our participation in it. The United States was a reluctant participant in World War II, but was ultimately forced into it by circumstances, and worked alongside other nations to defeat a way of life that we didn't believe in. I've had the good fortune to lead congressional delegations to American battle monuments cemeteries around the world. There are over 24 of them in France alone. I've been to Normandy. I've been to Pointe-du-Hoc. If you look at those cliffs and what they faced, I know people have seen pictures of it. It's unbelievably daunting that men charged in the way that they did in such a highly orchestrated way where there was a numbers game of how many people and ships and ship to shore transport methods were required, but it was an unbelievable challenge. That was just one supreme battle. There were many other battles of World War II around the globe, but what came from an outcome of World War II was this sort of Western-oriented world order. And Europe had an opportunity in these intervening 80 years to do more for itself than it appears to have. And so, NATO was an outgrowth of post-World War II, and it is about collective defense of the United States and Europe. Well, there have been recent arguments, primarily voiced by President Trump, that NATO doesn't pay its share of the bill. Well, it's not a bill that gets paid exactly. It's a cost-sharing mechanism that's based on each country's gross domestic product. How much do they pay for their own defense? And I think it's fair to say that European nations were underperforming in that regard. And the appearance was that the U.S. was carrying the bulk of the load and paying the lion's share for any disruption around the world. And I think the Russia incursion into first Crimea and then to Ukraine forces the world to acknowledge that, hey, there needs to be more done. And, this can slip away just as quickly as it was gained. But we've lost the connection to that. The last two generations, and this is not a slam on younger people, but it's a bit of an abstraction to them. And so they don't necessarily recognize what would it be like if we didn't have that sort of ability to trade with Europe and the common support and defense among Western countries. I think when we see something like the Suez Canal being closed down, first for the ship Ever Given that got stuck a couple of years ago, and then more recently with the Houthi rebels disrupting the flow of commerce. When you disrupt the flow of commerce, you begin to affect these interconnected economies. And, the post-World War II structure was intended to, in part, support that continued ability for democracies to prosper. And I just think we've forgotten some of that. Just to bring it up to present day, if you look at President Biden's comments at Normandy on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the press coverage across all channels couldn't resist comparing President Biden's words to President Reagan's words that were offered 40 years ago at the same setting. And, it's a different time and place. President Biden has never been the orator that President Reagan was. I think it's a bit of an unfair comparison. I think the fact that he recognizes that America needs to be there and be present is really the message, but that seemed to have gotten lost. Let me stop there. I'm happy to follow up in any direction.
No, yeah. To be honest, when it came to that, I know it'd be nice to compare from present to normally was historically great or sometimes worse. Maybe when it comes to that, yeah, we compare for great to present. It's normally very unfair because, like Reagan, agree with his politics or not, he was a pretty good speaker. I would even put, Obama, a more recent example. He was a great orator as well. I would definitely put Obama there as well. I would say he was like the last president to have that quality orator skills.
I think Joe Biden has never been that person. And, you go back to any decade in the last 50 years and pull a clip and you'll find that, they're less than perfect. And I don't claim to be the great orator either. That may not be his skill set. And I'm not here to take a position on who's the better candidate, but I think in the moment of speaking at a high level commemoration like that, the 80th anniversary, he did a pretty fair job. And he didn't make it about him. It was about, the bigger purpose. And if people don't believe in that, then, I would say travel the world a little bit, because I have traveled the world to dozens and dozens of countries. And most Americans visit one other country in their entire life. So the perspective may not be the same.
All right, absolutely. And, I have just started doing traveling, and it does wonders for you. I encourage travel. And even if it's not another country, try another state. Sometimes two states are so different, it feels like in a way you're in another country. And I've been to, if I count my states right now, I've been to 10 of them out of the 50. I'm not going to put claim to be a great traveler. Believe me, I will not. I will easily BS you, and you could smell it even when you're drunk or even sleeping. That's how bad of a liar I am, okay?
Well, I only make the point that many people haven't seen the sort of government-provided services that exist in other countries. So when we talk about, do we need a government? Do we need oversight of certain sorts of conditions, maybe public transportation, for example, or just how the government's laws are made? When you see it unfolding in other countries that don't have the luxury of a rule of law and a constitution as we do, and layers of government at a federal and state level, we have a highly integrated system of government that's pretty well tested, but it's not perfect and it remains under development. But it beats anything else I've seen anywhere.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm going to even bring up Puerto Rico, which I traveled to last year. They have went through throwing out governors and all of that when they didn't listen to the people. And when they protest, I said, well, Americans, you could protest, but I don't recommend copying the entire playbook of Puerto Rico. Someone just stand in lamps and going crazy and all of that. I personally wasn't there, but just to give you a comparison, Puerto Rico's a beautiful country, but the technology, the cleanliness of the road are not as great. You have to really know how to drive, because the natives, they drive that like the roads are clean. That's how experts say it. They drive through the mountains, the curvy roads, all of that, okay? And me, I was punk. I'm so used to more clean, orderly streets of America. This was a bit of a shock. I mean, of course, the tourist areas like San Juan Nuevo, that's a very touristy, progressive spot. Yeah, of course, they could have clean roads. All of that. They want tourists to come in. They, come in. You don't need to know Puerto Rico as much. But the other parts of Puerto Rico, yeah, you need to get used to. Mountains and, technology networking as well. So I have to match my generation, even the younger ones. You have to put up with technology not working as well in some regions. So just appreciate that, because to your point, we don't appreciate enough. We just don't. Especially those who just live in America for most of their lives or all of their lives, right? And they say, "Oh, this country sucks because of A, B, C." I mean, I could go on about all the complaints. I'm sure you've heard thousands of them. I'm gonna spare you from a lot of. But
I just offer that if you grew up with a phone in your hand, and many millions of people have now, you've had access to information. You haven't had to go to a library. You haven't had to look at an encyclopedia. Excuse me. You can get information immediately in your hand. It may not be perfect information. We haven't quite perfected how to test some of that information. If you are used to ordering something from Amazon and having it delivered same day or 2 days later and getting mad if you don't get it by the third day, that's not how the rest of the world lives, and it's not how a lot of people in parts of the U.S. live. That is not an equally distributed mechanism, and you can question the comparison of Amazon delivery versus the post office. The post office promises door-to-door delivery of parcels, anywhere in the country, and they can't deliver it the same way that Amazon can, because it's a government entity, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy until Amazon needed it to help deliver its goods and further their own network of distribution. I only highlight that to suggest that we get so used to this very comfortable way of life that has little inconveniences, but go to other parts of the world where you don't have that, and it feels different.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And let me bring up the Puerto Rico example again. I have encountered blackouts. Blackouts happen pretty frequently. It's even the beautiful, rich, luxurious resort, which I was in there, and thanks to Airbnb. Okay. We dealt with a blackout that lasted for 3 hours, but it's funny. I was the only. All of a sudden, they was happy to see me because I was the one that was willing to search and kill the gigantic water bugs with no hesitation. It was just some of my humble roots just came right back, because I was just being a modern, spoiled American. Just to make it easy for you listening. Yes, I don't care if you call me that. I have killed 3 large water bug. 2 of them were the size of my hand. So it scared a lot of my family members. But you know what? I just said something needs to be done. We had lights. We said, listen, we're going somewhere where it's beautiful, yes, but the technological infrastructure is not as strong.
Yeah, you mentioned power. You mentioned internet connectivity. Think about the various aspects of cybersecurity that we both enjoy, but that we also suffer through in the United States. We have businesses that undergo thousands and thousands of cyber attacks per day on their networks. I don't know that that's happening to the same degree in other parts of the world. There is a reason that enemies of our state want to take us down. We have too much. We don't deserve these things. That's what others might say and think. Our adversaries are after us every day, and that's not paranoia. I mean, these are documented situations. I think we need government to help protect us from those unseen threats like cyber, because think of the damage that can be done to our financial system. We have Apple Pay and chip readers, and the movement of money is pretty easy in the United States, in part because we have a fairly hardened financial infrastructure that's cyber secure. But there are companies who are starting up that may not be quite as secure, and they're potentially subject to similar attack, yet they may not have the resources to defend against cyber attack. that's a case in my mind where government could and should be doing more to help companies maintain a safe infrastructure for everybody. It's in the national interest, and so that to me, that's a place where government could be more involved, and it would be helpful, and it would help spur additional innovation by new startup companies who can more effectively apply what limited capital they have to the product they're trying to bring forward, as opposed to the defensive posture that they have to take with cybersecurity.
And I like they bring that up. With government and small business collaborations and all this. I think that's key. Did I have other tech guests that was so pro business and skeptical of government? Yes, because I had to talk about tech and stuff like that. But I think in the end of the day, I'm more of a pragmatist, and I think more collaborations and partnerships with government, small businesses, heck, even big businesses. I have my skepticism with certain corporations. Heck, but to enhance cybersecurity, I gotta put that little ego aside and try to protect the nation. So just thinking, I want to do it my way. To heck with everything else.
Yeah, I don't want to be misconstrued as suggesting that government needs to be a part of the innovation side of it, because I think government has lost that capability. There was a time, if you go back to like the Apollo program, for example, where we as a government were introducing new capabilities into industry. That has long since reversed, and industry is where the new innovation comes from. But government has a role in helping protect the infrastructure. That's really my point, and that requires some partnership, and it requires some common investment. That it comes from taxes, either from corporate tax or individual tax.
Yeah, money got to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah. Nobody likes taxes, but those are the kinds of things that actually serve a common good. Just like defense and having a common defense. It's been paid for hundreds of years. Since our inception, when we bought 6 frigates, and they were built in different parts of the country to help the industrial bases of that early nation. That's how it's done. Whether you like that or not, you come bring forward a better way.
Personally, this is probably going to sting the right more than the left. I don't mind my tax dollars going to cybersecurity and defense. To me, that's just too important. Do I think this wasteful spending? Of course. But if I talk about that, I'm going to make this too contentious. Not because of the guest. Just he's very chilled. He don't need to prove anything, okay? He doesn't. It's not about that. It's some of you listeners who are just going to get very combative and defend your own beliefs. And for those of you who are just listening to the audio, I have my fist like I'm ready to fight, okay? This is going to paint you a little picture. I don't want to leave you out. Some of you are just getting ready to fight. And you fight through your keyboards. Or if there's a voice feature, you're just going to yell, Elias or the guest, you're an idiot. I don't need that.
Well, we have other aspects of government that have proven to have some value. I'm thinking about antitrust issues. Where big oil, this is decades ago now, telephone companies, again, decades ago. Some of the tech companies of our day are achieving some of that size and scale. We could argue about the numbers, but when an AI company can grow in value in 1 month at a rate that's greater than the GDP of Australia, I'm talking about OpenAI, that's a colossally fast growth rate. If you look at how Amazon benefited from pretty favorable tax considerations about the internet, we hadn't figured out how to tax the internet. They were able to grow to just a gigantic size. If you think about what your search tool is of today, it's most likely Google, because Google has figured it out and is everywhere. There does come a point where some of those very, very large tech companies are inhibiting competition from others and are a monopoly, if for lack of a better word. And that's not something we want in a capitalist society. And so I do think there needs to be public policy that addresses some of these issues. It's never fun. It was not fun for big oil. It was not fun when they broke up the Bell system. But it does lead to better outcomes. And if we want competition and an opportunity to have a robust industrial base where things can be made in America, the playing field has to be fair. And it's skewing in some ways to favor some of the very big tech companies.
I mean, if you want to argue with that, listener, that's entirely up to you. I do not recommend that. And if for those of you who were just paying attention to the guests drinking Dr. Pepper, you want to argue about what kind of drink you should drink, please don't listen. Just
no, I think it's great to have opinion. I'm not. There's no emotion in how I'm presenting this, I think there needs to be a space for unemotional discussion about these things. A courtroom can ultimately be that place. You'll recall a few years ago, the government tried to break up Microsoft in a similar way. They were being viewed as a monopoly, and ultimately the government dropped the case. So it doesn't mean that if there's an antitrust lawsuit with Amazon or with OpenAI or Google that it will go the government's way. But I do think there should be a discussion about these things, and it does relate to our competitiveness in the world and how do we position ourselves as able to provide the goods and services that we need as a nation. We saw these supply chain disruptions during COVID. That was a direct function of just-in-time supply chain delivery, getting the lowest price from around the world. If we are as serious about Buy America as we claim we are, then we need to make sure that the playing field is fair.
Oh no, absolutely. Anyone, if you want, like I said, you want to argue with that, you go right ahead. It's your mouth, your choice at the end of the day. I don't recommend it. Anyone who has a rational brain agree that monopolies are bad. Okay, I don't care if you love Amazon, Microsoft. I even throw Apple in there. I consider Apple a monopoly or something. Okay. Oh, and even the airline industries with Boeing, they have almost complete control of building the planes. Another example, and there's just things being exposed about why one company should not have this much market control, whatever you want to call it, because for airplanes, everything I go through Boeing. As corrupt, as a lot of stuff has happened with their planes.
Think about how that came about, and who's their principal competitor globally? It's Airbus, which is a consortium that's backed by government funds from those countries. That it's just how they operate, and it's how China operates. It's how Russia operates. They have government-funded corporations. We don't have that, and so through competition and through the deregulation of the 70s and 80s, our U.S. airline industry brought about this condition where Boeing is the principal commercial airline maker in the U.S. If we want to change it, we've got to have a fair playing field.
Oh no, I agree. Okay, so I think I won some of your favorite back after saying I'm pro-tax, now pro-competition. Look, see, that's why I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist here. See, I'm trying to prove to you. I'm trying to walk it to you. I'm a centrist.
Elias, it's not one size fits all, right? Some of these, there is some nuance. And I, for the audience, I am registered independent. My work in Washington is with Republicans and Democrats because it has to be. National security is a bipartisan concern. Some of the things we're talking about are really bipartisan. We should disagree on certain aspects of it, but I don't fit into a neat cookie cutter, and I don't expect that anyone in your audience should have to either.
Oh, no, I agree. Also, I am a registered independent, but the audience, I'm sure they're tired of hearing that if they've been following me throughout the journey. I'm a registered independent, and I think that's the best decision I've ever made in my life. I've been a moderate Democrat and Republican. Miserable. I said, no, these two parties are too crazy for me. I'll just be an independent. You got to convince me to move in a certain direction, and I go issue by issue. That's okay. Republicans, I agree with you on A. Democrats, I agree with you on B. On issue C, I think you're both nuts. So.
Well, I think it's fine for people to have their own opinion. I wish more people would take the time to get informed on whatever the topic is. There are plenty of single-issue voters out there who cling to a specific presentation of their issue of choice, and that's what they base their decisions on. That's their choice. They one man, one vote is the saying. But we have the opportunity again with the phone in our hand. There's just so much information available that we have to give it the time it deserves.
Oh no, absolutely. Like, for example, people who want more government benefits, more SSI, more food stamp. No party to go into. That's an easy Democrat vote. Okay, I want to protect my 2A, my gun rights. Well, that's the Republican. And they're going to vote Republican the rest of the way. And then for the food stamp, they're going to vote Democrat the rest. Even though they think some of the policy sucks. But they're just going to focus on that issue. That's why they call a single issue voter. I'm a I'm sometimes being too nuanced could get me in such a analysis paralysis. Like, what to do. As a disadvantage, I prefer that because I'll eventually come to it. But enough about me with that. I don't want to make this about me here because I want to serve you, the audience, and also want the guest to speak, his expertise and opinion if he wants to, and I do mean that.
I'm in a position, Elias, where I'm free to speak my mind. While I represent multiple companies, I'm not a corporate person bound by my company's governance of what I'm allowed to say or not say. So, I'm well educated and I have some expertise to share. I wish more retired military, such as myself, would comment more publicly about some of what they see, about how things are conducted, how things are unfolding. Because I think for the vast majority of the public who haven't had the experience of working in the military or maybe even working in government, some of these things could be explained so that people could have a fuller understanding of how it works and why it should work or why something is wrong. And I value this place in life where I'm at, that I can speak openly. And if this podcast spurs some conversation among the audience, all the better.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And when I bring somebody back, it's because I'm sure they have more to offer. And as of right now, as of recent statistics, I'm going to feed Gene's ego here pretty generously. You've been the most popular guest out of the recent. No, I'm being very serious. The numbers do not lie, and you have the most feedback out of. I'll say more good than bad is like 64. What I mean by bad are the more critical ones. I say, the OBM is the one that manages all of the budgets and all that. Not whatever stuff you're saying. Wrong. And I put a like, not because I agree with the thing. I just said, okay, you're an engaged person. That's good. I'd like to have a conversation with you. Just because I put a heart or a like, which I did, it doesn't mean I necessarily agree with you. I just like the fact that you're at least engaged. You're not afraid to have your opinion being posted. Points of bravery in terms of intellect and decorum.
Well, we all have
decorum is okay. There's no cursing in there at least. So I'll give it probably a B in decorum. But
I'll wear a tie next time. I'll wear a tie next time.
Yeah.
Well, we should all feel like we have the opportunity to inform our own opinion. And I just wish more people would take advantage of it. And I don't say that I know everything because you can't. But I do try to stay current and read from different sources and observe news outlets from different sources to try to maintain some perspective. I think it could do an awful lot to tone down the heated rhetoric of our current presidential race.
The nonsense you hear from both sides of the aisle. I mean, I'm not going to just hear so much, Trump bad, Biden good, vice versa. Listen, to me, that's just theater. You're distracted. You're not paying attention to the big picture, in my honest opinion. As a registered independent, I could see that very easily, but Dems and Republicans, it's like a team sport. They want one up each other. Yes, I'm doing some sports terminology, even though I'm not a sports person. I don't know what's going on. My brain is possessed with the sports Kool-Aid right now, okay? Don't expect me to explain that. It just happens randomly, okay? I do know a little bit about sports, but I'm not an expert at all. Nor if I'm athletically talented. You see my body shape, you'll know. Oh, okay, yeah. You say he's a college. Fair assessment. It'll take a lot of intellect to figure that one out. Hey, but treating that like a team sport is just so bad for this country. That's just my point. It's very bad because you too busy trying to undo the other party or score a point over them that you hurt the rest of it. So try to think about the people. Think about the people. People matter. Votes matter, okay? This is not just for Democrats, Republicans, even independents as well. Votes matter. Okay, votes matter. What they're at, even they're a single issue voter, even though I have my eyes roll on those votes. See what they care about. If they care about abortion, they know where they're going to, Democrats. If they care about free speech, even though I find it questionable, so sometimes they go to Republican. So, yeah, it's... Before I derail this whole thing, yeah, I could just jump for one topic to another. Let's do some plug-in. Some brief tease of your program, especially regarding getting extra funds for the government. Of course, you got to meet their demand, right? You got to.
Sure, the government has a very specific process for if you're trying to sell to the government. With a multi-trillion-dollar budget, the government is a big buyer. It's a huge customer opportunity, and it's not one person. It's many customer opportunities. I said I work in defense. That annual defense budget is $850 billion this year. We spend about $9 or $10 billion a week on defense from our government. So it's the biggest game in town in terms of an opportunity. There are others, we mentioned some of the big tech companies, they have the ability to spend that kind of cash, not in a sustained way like the government, but those are fairly niche opportunities. Across the government, there's a big opportunity to provide the government what it needs and potentially help the government do something in a better way than they do today. You might have something innovative, you might have some new technology or capability that could save money. The government's always interested in that. I have a book called Government Deals Are Funded, Not Sold. That's about acknowledging that it's really about where is the money in the government. There's a very public federal contracting process that is really at the tail end of the where are we going to spend the money decisions. And if you're waiting for the government to announce a contract, the decisions have largely already been made. You can be much earlier in that process, 1, 2, 3 years earlier, by understanding how to participate in the earliest parts of the decisions. And I help companies align to that entire process so that they're working near, mid, and long-term opportunities simultaneously. And very quickly, those companies have now bedrock federal work that gives them a level of security because it will sustain. It will keep coming back year after year. And they can then go do other things.
Yep. And what? It's like, me, sadly, the only example I can come up with is like applying for a grant, right? You gotta go through so much steps, what it's needed, it's a condition to get money, and you gotta write request for proposal, what's the acronym again? RFP.
RFP, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm slipping, but here just to get funds for government. Are you gonna help? I don't know, address the healthcare shortage. I'm sure there is government interest in that, especially New York State. They're still going through a shortage right now as we speak.
Any aspect of your life has somebody who's trying to sell a product or service that could benefit either you or your government. The government is probably trying to set the conditions for a fair playing field. And, sometimes people just kind of miss where those connection points are. And you can get caught up in the emotion of who's right or wrong. But understanding the process can allow companies to just participate more fully. And I do it all the time with great effect, helping companies achieve dramatic outcomes.
So, especially your listener, you got a big company, want to get to the government market, know the guy.
Doesn't have to be that big a company. A company that's got a few million in revenue is selling into the same system as Microsoft is selling into when they're trying to get a government contract. The process is the same. The opportunity size may be different, but the process is the same. And there are many, many doors in the process. And I help get people through those right doors at the right place and time with a message that will be convincing.
Yeah. See, so that's your plug-in. Before I wrap this up, there's something I think needs to be mentioned that is scarily close to America. You already said there was Russian warships not too far from Florida because of escalation. Of course, they have still good relations with Cuba. Why else would they have warships there? And then if you want to pay attention to this distorted map right here, it makes it seem like U.S. and Russia are very far apart. It's around, so there's only one ocean separating that, okay? And it's not as far as you think. If you think the world's flat as that, yes, I'm attacking you flat earther people. You're insane. Russia's not that far. If you want to just pay attention to that map right there, just think it's that far apart. You're crazy. It's around globe. Russia's find their way easy to Cuba, into the United States. I mean, I'm not gonna get into Alaska. We don't got time for that. That's the I think Russia regrets selling us Alaska. That's the reason why I added that into it.
In the 1980s, the Soviet Union of the day and the U.S. would play cat and mouse around the world, tracking and monitoring each other. Russian submarines, Soviet submarines at the time would sit off the East Coast, all continuously. They called it Yankee Station. And we monitored those activities day in and day out. And when the wall came down, we sort of went our separate ways. And the Russian Navy has never been what the Soviet Navy was of its day. If you look at the Black Sea Fleet in particular in this war against Ukraine, it's been decimated by unmanned surface drones, essentially, that Ukraine has sunk ships at sea and at the pier with. The ships off Florida you're talking about, here it is, we're recording on June 12th. Yesterday, Russian Surface Action Group was less than 30 miles off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They were transiting to Cuba, as is their right to do, but that's within weapons range of the United States. Is that a threat? Maybe, maybe not. The U.S. was monitoring it. There were ships and aircraft monitoring that. But we do that around the world. I will say of those ships in the Red Sea that came under attack, they had transited the Suez Canal southbound into the Red Sea, and they were under fire within 36 hours. They didn't know that was going to happen at that time, and they were ready, and they've performed magnificently in defending themselves. But the only reason that we're able to monitor these activities and keep track of them and present a credible defense is because we have made investment over decades to have a military that's ready and able to deploy on short notice.
Yep. And sadly, I'm going to say this, I will get some flack, I'm fine with it, but a lot of us regular people, we take that unless, I hate to give this doomsday picture, a missile hits the Big Apple, and boom, you just realize, oh crap, we actually need the military. Yeah, this is why America has put so much investment into military, to prevent, this hypothetical, and let's keep it hypothetical, okay? to prevent things like that from happening. I mean, of course we're going to monitor Russia because it's striking range. Let's just be absolutely clear. You don't have to be a geographical or even a military genius to know that. Just do some math and measurements.
As we said, it doesn't have to be a missile. This can be some cyber activity that causes massive disruption for us.
Oh yeah, hacking the power grid. Shutting down power or hacking out financial systems. Let's go back to the earlier example. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that. I think that's more like the classic example. Yep, I'm playing a history hat here. But I think a cyber attack is a lot more likely, just to be to your point, because that's we more sophisticated than before, throwing bombs like we did during World War II or even... I mean, we are throwing bombs, and sadly, that's affecting the Middle East region.
Yeah, warfare is changing before our eyes right now.
Yeah, robots. You're going to see a lot more robot deployment. There's ray drones going on, and those weird-looking dogs. I'm not going to get into that. But they have guns and all of that yet, so it's changing. And I'm sure AI is being deployed one way or another. Whether I have direct connections or not, nope. It's just a matter of time before those details will leak out. So I'm just going a little ahead. Going to put the more scary doomsday or outdated examples. I'm just gonna reach a conclusion.
Just stay engaged.
Stay engaged. Before you form an opinion, gather the facts. You got your smartphone. It's no excuse. And talk to an expert too to verify. You gotta challenge your own assumptions and beliefs. Because if you don't, that's how you're gonna have craziness. That's why people fall for the far left misinformation or far right misinformation or just misinformation in general. And that's just happening a lot more often because a lot of people just consume this short clip and that's it. That's my opinion. I'm going to stick to it. Even if you've been debunked 20 times, said no, but TikTok says if this person says this word, this person is immediately a racist. He probably had a bad moment. He shouldn't have said it. But since you think this person's just a racist because that one bad moment, it shouldn't have happened, but it happened, and we gotta see what's the great context of that. But I digress. I'm not gonna go deeper into that. So people follow this man. It doesn't have to be a super big company either. I think if that corrects you, by the way. Maybe a mid-sized company, you could have a shot. Well, he could debug me right on the spot right there. Take advantage of getting more government opportunities because I'm sure some of them are lucrative.
I'm happy to help. I work with small, medium, and very large companies. If you have a question, shoot me an email.
Yep. I was going to say you do not discriminate business size. There you go. I was going to say that for
Very
you.
good. Well, good to be with you, Elias.
No problem. I'm just going to wrap this up. So I thank you for your time, Gene, as always. And for those of you who are listening, you can just subscribe. No, well, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe. If you're Rumble, that's the follow button. Same process, different words. If you're listening to this, especially through Buzzsprout, if you feel, enough kindness in your heart, just provide a donation if it's worth it. Or there's a one-time donation option and there's a recurring option. And then eventually for those who are getting recurring donors, well, I'll call you donors for now, but you're really a subscriber. You're going to get some exclusive content. There's one I'm planning right now. I'm going to get much, people follow him. I'm going to link his site is genemoran.com. That is GENEMORAN.com. Okay? And you could follow him. And I'm going to link all his social medias as well. I'm not going to tell you which ones. If you pay attention to 159, it'll be the same social medias. That's all I could do from there.